The alien princess took command in war. Even the generals were afraid. For months, humans had been monitoring the alien empire's movements, unsure of their intentions but certain that something big was coming. Captain Joran, commanding one of the human cruisers, stared at the holographic display in front of him, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down. "Sir," Lieutenant Mari said, breaking the tense silence, "our sensors are picking up an unknown fleet entering the system." "Their signature, it's unlike anything we've seen before," Joran frowned. "Unknown or not, we're outnumbered. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Ready the shields and alert the crew." The fleet's communication channels buzzed with nervous chatter. Many of the human officers had grown accustomed to facing other human factions or minor alien threats, but nothing compared to what appeared on their scanners now. Ships larger than entire cities, adorned with strange glowing symbols, moved in perfect formation. Every human officer present could feel a chill run down their spines. Then, through the static of the interstellar communicator, a voice rang out, clear, confident, and commanding. "Halt your fleets. I am Princess Selara of the Avarian Empire. You will cease all resistance or you will be destroyed." The crew froze. Even the most experienced veterans felt a mixture of awe and fear. Joran gripped the armrest of his command chair. "Princess?" he asked quietly. They said she was just a story." Mari shook her head. "Not a story, sir. The Avarians have been quiet for decades, but reports describe her as unmatched. Even their generals fear her." The fleet fell into tense silence. None dared to make the first move. It was clear that the princess's reputation was more than rumor. It carried weight, power, and danger. After a long pause, Selara's voice came again. "I have come to oversee this conflict personally. You may choose to comply and survive, or resist and perish. The choice is yours." Joran looked around at his crew. "We can't just give up. This is our territory." He paused, swallowing hard. "But we need a plan. We're outmatched in every way. Suggestions?" The communications officer hesitated. "Sir, if we attack now, we risk losing the entire fleet. Her formation is perfect. It's like she's already thinking 3 moves ahead." Joran ran a hand through his hair. "We've faced impossible odds before, but this is different. We need a strategy that they won't expect. Something creative, something human." The human fleet adjusted its position cautiously, attempting to keep a safe distance while observing the Avarian ships. Time seemed to stretch, each second heavy with tension. Then, without warning, the Avarian fleet split into smaller units, surrounding the human ships with almost theatrical precision. "Report!" Joran shouted, trying to keep his fear under control. "They're flanking us, sir," Mari said. "It's as if they anticipated our every move before we even made it." Joran took a deep breath. "Everyone stay calm. We've trained for difficult situations. Trust your instincts, and keep your eyes open for anything unusual." At that moment, a small scout vessel darted out from the Avarian formation. Unlike the massive capital ships, it moved with speed and grace. It landed near the human fleet, and a hatch opened. A tall, elegant figure stepped out, her armor reflecting the starlight. Princess Selara. She moved with the precision of someone completely confident in every step. Her eyes, sharp and intelligent, scanned the human fleet. She raised a hand and the fleet's movement slowed. "I will speak with your leaders directly," she said. Her voice carried over the open channel, calm yet undeniable. "Bring your commanders aboard my flagship or risk losing your ships." Joran hesitated. "Do we trust her?" Maris whispered. He shook his head. "Trust? No, but we survive by thinking smarter, not by fighting blindly." "Prepare the shuttle. I'll go." The journey to Selara's ship was tense. Joran and a small human delegation walked the corridors of the alien vessel, noting the strange symbols etched into walls and the unusual shapes of the architecture. It was beautiful, almost like art fused with technology, but every detail screamed efficiency and control. They entered a large chamber where Selara stood waiting. She did not bow or gesture in greeting. Her presence alone was commanding enough. "You have strength," she said plainly, "but you lack foresight. That will cost you if you continue without guidance." Joran squared his shoulders. "We've faced worse than you, princess, but we're also smart. We can adapt." Selara's eyes glimmered. "I do not doubt your adaptability. That is why I am here. The enemy you face is unlike anything you have encountered. Traditional strategies will fail. I intend to lead this campaign myself, and I expect your cooperation." The human officers exchanged uneasy glances. They had been trained to command, not to follow an alien, especially one who intimidated even her own generals. But they could see something else in her, an intelligence, a clarity of thought that made even their best strategies seem small. Back on the bridge of his own ship, Joran studied the holographic map Selara provided. She outlined the enemy's positions, their movements, and the likely outcomes of various strategies. It was complex and precise, yet it left room for improvisation. "She's thinking 10 steps ahead," Joran muttered, "and somehow she's letting us add our moves too." Maris shook her head. "It doesn't make sense. How can she allow us any freedom and still control everything?" Joran didn't answer. He knew one thing: survival depended on trusting her, at least for now. "Prepare the fleet to follow her orders. Watch carefully and learn. We might survive this after all." The first engagement came sooner than expected. Enemy ships moved with aggressive speed, targeting human transport vessels. Selara issued precise commands, guiding each human and alien ship into positions that seemed impossible. Joran watched in awe as small, fast human fighters created diversions that allowed the larger ships to escape traps. Despite the odds, the fleet survived the initial attack. Damage was minimal, and morale rose slightly. The human officers began to see that Selara's fearsome reputation was not only justified, it was earned. She anticipated every move, yet she allowed the humans to shine, using their creativity as a force multiplier. After the battle, Selara addressed the coalition. "Today you survived because you adapted. That is the essence of victory. War is not about fear or strength alone. It is about understanding, predicting, and evolving. Remember this." Joran felt a mix of relief and admiration. "I've faced some tough opponents," he thought, "but never someone who could make us feel like partners in strategy instead of pawns." Later, as the fleet regrouped and repaired, human crews began discussing Selara not as an enemy or even a mysterious alien, but as a commander worth following. Her brilliance was intimidating, yes, but it was also inspiring. They realized that, under her guidance, they might achieve victories that no human fleet could manage alone. Yet even in this moment of cautious optimism, Joran couldn't shake a lingering worry. "If she's this smart," he thought, "and the enemy sees her coming, what kind of challenge are we really in for?" The night stretched on, stars glimmering silently above, while the human fleet moved in formation behind the alien princess who had taken command. Her shadow was long, her reputation daunting, but in that darkness, a spark of hope began to grow. Humanity had met something extraordinary, something beyond fear, something that demanded respect, ingenuity, and courage. And perhaps, just perhaps, they were ready for it. The aftermath of the first battle left the human fleet both shaken and amazed. For the first time in history, they had fought alongside an alien commander and survived, and it had changed something deep inside them. Captain Joran walked along the corridor of his cruiser, watching his crew move with a quiet energy, a mixture of nervousness and excitement. They had seen something extraordinary, and it had made them curious. Lieutenant Maris approached him, her eyes wide with awe. "Sir, I still can't believe what just happened. She anticipated everything. Every move we made, she knew what would happen next." Joran nodded slowly. "Yes, and yet she lets us act. She's not just controlling us, she's testing us. Seeing what humans can do when we're trusted, not just ordered around. Their discussion was interrupted by a call from the Avarian flagship. Princess Selara herself wanted to speak with Joran and his officers. Hesitation flickered across the human faces, but they knew they had no choice. The shuttle ride to her ship was quiet, each officer lost in thought. The last encounter had shown them a commander unlike any they had ever seen. When they entered the grand strategy room, Selara was already waiting, her posture perfect, her expression calm and unreadable. "You have performed well," she said, her voice even but carrying weight. "But that was only the beginning. The true challenge lies ahead. The enemy is stronger than you imagine and their tactics will change." Joran swallowed hard. "We're ready to follow your guidance, Princess, but we also have ideas. Some may seem small or risky, but they come from experience." Selara's sharp eyes focused on him. "Risk is necessary. I will listen. Show me these ideas." It was a turning point. For the first time, human ingenuity could mix with her strategic brilliance. They gathered around the holographic display, discussing options for the next engagement. Joran suggested using smaller, faster human ships to create diversions, while Selara incorporated these maneuvers into her larger, complex battle plan. It was unusual for her. She usually preferred precise, controlled movements, but she nodded, clearly intrigued. "This is clever," she said, her tone almost approving. "Your species thinks in ways we do not. It may save lives if executed correctly." The human officers exchanged glances, pride mixed with relief. They had never been valued like this before, not in any coalition, not even among their own kind. Here, their ideas mattered. The next engagement came sooner than expected. Intelligence reports indicated that the enemy was attempting to cut off human supply lines. The humans and Avarians prepared for a fast response. Selara's fleet moved with fluid precision, a complex dance of light and metal, while the human ships executed risky maneuvers that surprised even seasoned alien observers. Joran watched as a small squadron of human fighters darted between massive alien warships, drawing enemy fire while the larger ships positioned themselves for a devastating counterattack. His heart raced. "It's working, it's really working," he whispered to Maris. From the bridge of the Avarian flagship, Selara observed every movement, her mind calculating hundreds of possibilities at once. Yet she did not command every action. She allowed humans to act freely, testing them, guiding them subtly. The enemy fleet, confident in its superior numbers, fell into the trap. Their attacks became predictable, as if they underestimated the humans they had never known. The counterattack was swift and overwhelming. Human ships exploited openings that would have been impossible without Selara's planning, while alien forces delivered precise strikes to the enemy's vulnerable points. By the time the battle ended, the enemy had lost nearly half of their attacking fleet, and the humans had suffered minimal damage. In the aftermath, Selara addressed the combined crews. "Today, humans proved their worth not through strength alone, but through creativity and courage. You adapted in ways even I had not predicted. That is the essence of true strategy, to evolve with the battle." Joran felt a swell of pride. For the first time, he realized that humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, capable of brilliance when trusted and guided. The officers around him began to speak openly about their experiences, sharing ideas and learning from each other. Despite the victory, tension remained. Some of Selara's alien generals were clearly uncomfortable with the human involvement. Their whispers carried doubts, questions about loyalty, and fear of unpredictability. Joran overheard one of them, a tall, stern officer named Varen, muttering to a colleague, "If the humans act freely, we may lose control. The princess is risking everything." Joran frowned. He knew that fear could become a serious problem. But he also knew that humans thrived under trust and challenge, and Selara's method, though unconventional, was exactly what they needed. The next day, the human delegation was called to a council meeting with Selara and her generals. The room was vast, the walls adorned with glowing symbols that seemed to shift slightly as if alive. Selara took her place at the head of the table. "We have new intelligence," she said. "The enemy is regrouping and preparing an ambush in the Claron sector. They expect conventional tactics. We will give them something else." One of her generals spoke, clearly skeptical. "Princess, our forces are strong. Why involve the humans in such dangerous maneuvers? Their ships are fragile." Selara's eyes met his sharply. "Because they can do what we cannot. They think differently. That is why they are here." Joran spoke up cautiously. "Princess, I have an idea that might work. It's risky, but if we act quickly and unpredictably, we can outmaneuver their ambush." Selara studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Explain." Joran outlined his plan. Small human strike teams would create distractions, drawing enemy forces into traps. Larger ships, both human and Avarian, would then strike from unexpected angles. The plan relied on speed, surprise, and precise coordination, a perfect combination of human creativity and Selara's strategic mind. Selara smiled faintly, almost imperceptibly. "It is bold. It is dangerous, but it may succeed. Prepare your teams." The humans worked tirelessly, checking every ship, calibrating every weapon, and running simulations of the risky maneuver. For the first time, they felt truly trusted and responsible, not just following orders but shaping the outcome of an entire battle. When the fleet entered the Claron sector, the tension was palpable. Enemy sensors detected their approach, but they were unprepared for the strategy that Selara and the humans had devised. Small human strike ships darted forward, drawing attention and fire, while the larger fleet moved into hidden positions. The ambush began and chaos erupted. The enemy fired relentlessly, but the human ships moved unpredictably, weaving through attacks and forcing their enemies to overextend. Selara's fleet executed precise strikes, disabling key enemy vessels while avoiding unnecessary destruction. Joran led a squadron into a dangerous corridor between asteroid clusters. The path was narrow, almost suicidal, but it allowed them to flank the enemy. His hands shook as he piloted the ship, but he remembered Selara's words, "Trust in yourself and in your team." The maneuver worked. The enemy, confident in their superior numbers, found themselves trapped. Ships that had seemed unstoppable moments ago were now vulnerable. Selara's combined fleet struck decisively, and within hours the Claron sector was secured. After the battle, the crew gathered on the bridge of the human flagship, watching as the last enemy ships fled. Relief and exhilaration mixed in the air. Joran turned to Maurice, a wide grin breaking across his face. "We did it. We actually did it." Maurice nodded, her eyes shining. "Not just us, all of us, humans and aliens together, and the princess, she's incredible." Selara's message came through the communicator. "You have proven yourselves again. Your species is remarkable. Continue to think, to adapt, and to act. That is how we will survive the challenges ahead." For the first time, Joran realized that the fear he had felt when meeting Selara was not fear of her, but of underestimating humanity. Together, they had done something extraordinary. Yet as the fleet regrouped and celebrated, Joran could not shake a lingering thought. The enemy had survived. They had retreated, yes, but they were far from defeated. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, new threats were waiting, more cunning and dangerous than before. The humans had learned a lesson. Survival was not enough. They needed courage, ingenuity, and trust, qualities that could turn the tide even in the darkest moments. And with Selara guiding them, challenging them, and believing in their potential, perhaps they could achieve victories that no one had thought possible. The stars outside the fleet shimmered silently, a vast, mysterious expanse full of danger and opportunity. Humanity had found an ally in the most unlikely of places, an alien princess who demanded the best from them, and they were ready to rise to the challenge. And so, with the Claron sector secured, the human fleet followed Solara deeper into the unknown, prepared to face whatever the galaxy had in store. They had survived impossible odds, and now, for the first time, they believed they could thrive. The human fleet moved cautiously through the outer sectors of the galaxy. Victory in the Claron sector had brought confidence, but it had also drawn attention. Reports filtered in that enemy scouts had begun shadowing their movements, and Solara's sharp mind anticipated that the next confrontation would be more dangerous. Captain Joran studied the holographic maps aboard his ship, feeling the familiar mix of tension and curiosity. Every star, every planet could hold a trap, and he knew that survival would require not just skill, but careful thinking. Princess Solara called the human delegation aboard her flagship again. This time, there was a noticeable tension in the air. Even her normally composed alien generals appeared uneasy, whispering among themselves and casting sideways glances at the humans. Joran noticed Varen, the stern general from before, frowning as he adjusted his uniform. "You have performed admirably," Solara began, her calm voice cutting through the whispers. "But the next phase will test more than skill. It will test loyalty, judgment, and courage. The enemy has learned from previous encounters. They are cunning, unpredictable, and dangerous." Joran glanced at Maris, who gave a subtle nod. They understood what this meant. The upcoming battles would not be straightforward. Solara continued, "I have reason to believe that one among my own generals may not be fully loyal to our cause. Their fear of your species' unpredictability has led them to question my leadership. This betrayal, if not addressed, could cost us dearly." A murmur ran through the room. The humans felt a mix of surprise and unease. Betrayal from allies, especially in an alien fleet, was something they had never faced. Yet Solara's confidence was unwavering. "I will not let disloyalty succeed, but you humans must be ready to act with initiative. Trust your instincts and be vigilant. The future of this fleet depends on it." Joran felt a shiver of apprehension. He had never led troops into a situation where even allies could not be trusted completely. Yet he also knew that humans thrived under challenge, and perhaps this was an opportunity to demonstrate their true value. Over the next few days, the fleet continued its journey, keeping a watchful eye on enemy movements. Small skirmishes tested their coordination, but every time the humans acted, Solara incorporated their decisions into her strategies, adapting fluidly to the changing battlefield. The bond between the human crews and the princess grew stronger, even as the shadow of potential betrayal lingered. Then the betrayal came to light in the most unexpected way. During a routine intelligence briefing, a coded message intended for enemy scouts was intercepted. It revealed that one of Solara's generals, Varen, had been feeding false reports to the enemy, exaggerating human weaknesses and providing details about fleet formations. The revelation was shocking. Solara's expression did not change as she examined the data. "Varen believes he can control the outcome of this war," she said quietly. "He does not understand that loyalty, strategy, and trust cannot be manipulated. We will deal with him in time, but now we must focus on survival and victory." Joran's mind raced. "So the ambush we anticipated, it's worse than we thought. He's helping them plan it." "Yes," Solara replied, "but that also gives us an advantage. I now know his methods, his thinking. We can turn his treachery into an opportunity." The humans spent hours preparing for the ambush. Solara outlined a counter-strategy that relied heavily on human initiative. Joran would lead a squadron tasked with penetrating the enemy lines, using their ingenuity to create chaos and confusion. Meanwhile, the larger Avarian ships, guided by Solara's commands, would strike at key points the enemy would not expect. "Captain Joran," Solara said, her eyes locking with his, "you and your team will need to act without waiting for orders. Trust your instincts. I will support you, but the decisions in those moments will be yours. "Can you do this?" Joran felt a surge of responsibility. "Yes, Princess, we won't fail." The human crews worked tirelessly, double-checking systems, coordinating signals, and preparing contingencies. They trained for situations where no instructions could reach them, where improvisation would be the only path to survival. Selara observed, occasionally offering guidance, but mostly allowing them to prepare in their own way. The day of the ambush arrived. The fleet entered a dense asteroid field, where sensors were limited and movement was restricted. It was the perfect place for an attack, and Joran knew that Varen's betrayal had given the enemy precise knowledge of their approach. "Hold your positions," Selara commanded. "Wait for the signal. When it comes, act with courage and creativity. The success of this fleet depends on you." The enemy attacked with brutal precision, firing from multiple directions simultaneously. Explosions erupted across the field, lighting up the darkness. Human ships darted among asteroids, weaving through debris while larger Avarian vessels executed Selara's complex maneuvers. Joran's squadron pushed forward, relying on unconventional tactics. They used the asteroid field to their advantage, creating false trails and decoys, drawing enemy fire away from vulnerable ships. His hands shook slightly as he piloted his vessel, but he remembered Selara's confidence in them. Every choice he made counted, and it was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. As the battle raged, Joran noticed a group of enemy ships attempting to flank the fleet. He signaled to his team, who understood immediately. Acting on intuition, they executed a maneuver that surprised even the seasoned alien generals. The enemy ships were caught off guard and isolated. The humans had turned a potential disaster into a significant advantage. Meanwhile, Selara coordinated the larger fleet. Using the chaos created by Joran's squadron, her forces struck at key enemy positions, disabling their weapons and cutting off their escape routes. Her mind worked like a machine, anticipating every move, adjusting every plan in real time, yet always allowing the humans to act independently. Hours passed, but the battle seemed timeless. Explosions lit the void and the hum of engines filled the air. The human crews were exhausted, but their determination did not waver. They realized that their creativity, combined with Selara's brilliance, could overcome even overwhelming odds. Finally, the enemy began to retreat, their forces fractured and confused. The combined fleet had survived the ambush, not only intact but stronger than before. Selara's voice came over the communication channels, calm yet proud. "You have succeeded. You adapted, improvised, and acted with courage. Today, you have proven yourselves not just capable allies, but essential to this fleet's victory." Joran exhaled, leaning back in his chair. His crew cheered, their exhaustion momentarily forgotten in the rush of triumph. Maris grinned at him. "We did it against impossible odds." "Yes," Joran agreed. "And we did it together with her guidance and our own instincts. That's what made the difference." But even as they celebrated, Joran could not ignore the deeper lesson of the battle. Varen's betrayal had been dangerous, but it had also revealed something crucial. Trust was more powerful than fear, and intelligence alone was not enough. The human crews had thrived because they were trusted, allowed to think, and given the freedom to act. Selara addressed the fleet again, her tone thoughtful. "The galaxy is full of threats, both seen and unseen. Loyalty cannot be assumed and power is meaningless without wisdom. Today, we have turned betrayal into victory because of trust, creativity, and courage. Remember this lesson. The war is far from over, but you are stronger than you realize." As the fleet moved to regroup and repair, human officers discussed the events in quiet tones. They spoke not just of battle tactics, but of strategy, intuition, and teamwork. They were beginning to see that the war was not only about ships and weapons, but about thinking, adapting, and trusting each other in moments of crisis. Joran walked to the edge of the observation deck, staring into the endless expanse of stars. He thought about Selara, her brilliance, and the incredible responsibility she had placed on humans. It was a challenge unlike anything they had faced before, but he also felt a surge of pride. Humanity had proven itself, not as pawns in an alien war, but as partners, innovators, and warriors in their own right. Maris joined him, her eyes reflecting the distant stars. "Do you think the next battle will be worse?" she asked softly. Joran nodded slowly. "It will be. But now we know we can face it. We've seen what we're capable of. With her, we can survive and maybe even win." The warning bells of the fleet echoed faintly in the distance, a reminder that danger was never far. But Joran felt something new: confidence. They had faced betrayal, outmaneuvered the enemy, and learned to trust not just Selara but themselves. That trust, that courage, was a weapon more powerful than any laser or missile. As night fell across the observation deck, the stars glimmered silently, endless and mysterious. The human fleet moved forward, guided by a princess whose brilliance had inspired fear in her own generals, yet had awakened hope in humans. They were ready for the challenges ahead, stronger, wiser, and united. And deep in the heart of the Avarian flagship, Selara watched them too, her sharp mind noting every action, every choice. She had seen potential in humans that even their own species had underestimated. And now, with the betrayal exposed and their courage tested, she knew one thing for certain. Together, they could face whatever the galaxy had in store. The stars seemed to shine brighter as the fleet moved forward, carrying with them the lessons of loyalty, ingenuity, and courage. Humanity had faced its first true test under Selara's command, and they had passed. But the war was far from over, and the next trials would demand everything they had learned, and more. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath as the human and Avarian fleet approached the enemy's heart. Weeks of battles, ambushes, and strategy had led to this moment, the decisive confrontation that would determine the fate of entire systems. Captain Joran stood on the bridge of his cruiser, staring at the vast armada forming ahead. Thousands of enemy ships glimmered in the distance, their movements coordinated, precise, and deadly. He felt a familiar mix of fear and anticipation, but unlike before, this fear was tempered by confidence. They had survived impossible odds. They had learned to trust each other. Princess Selara stood at the head of the fleet, her presence radiating authority and calm. Even her own generals watched her closely, now fully aware that her combination of intelligence and trust in humans was unstoppable. Varen, once skeptical and treacherous, had been removed from command, replaced by officers who recognized the power of collaboration rather than fear. Selara's voice carried over the fleet's communication network, clear and firm. "This is the moment we have prepared for. The enemy believes they can crush us with numbers and firepower. They underestimate our intelligence, our adaptability, and our courage. Today, we fight not just for survival, but for the future of our alliance." Joran tightened his grip on the railing. "We've come so far," he muttered to Maris, who stood beside him. "I can't believe this is happening." "Believe it," she replied softly. "We're ready. We've learned from her and we've learned from each other. This is our chance to prove ourselves fully." The first strike came almost immediately. Enemy ships surged forward in a coordinated wave, their weapons lighting the void with deadly precision. Explosions erupted among the outer defenses, and alarms blared across the fleet. But Selara's strategy was already in motion. She had anticipated the assault, and every human and Avarian ship moved as part of a larger plan, each maneuver designed to lure the enemy into traps they did not see. Joran's squadron moved swiftly through a narrow asteroid corridor, using their small, agile ships to create diversions. Laser fire streaked past them, and enemy missiles whistled dangerously close, but they navigated expertly. Each move was risky, yet the humans trusted their instincts, guided by Selara's subtle direction. Meanwhile, the larger Avarian ships, positioned strategically, struck at the enemy's flanks. Selara's voice came over the communication channel. "Now, Captain Joran. Lead your teams through the southern gap. Draw their attention. Trust yourselves." Joran's heart pounded as he signaled his squadron. They surged forward, weaving among asteroids and enemy ships alike. Their goal was not only to survive, but to create confusion, forcing the enemy fleet to scatter and expose vulnerabilities. The humans' unpredictable tactics worked perfectly, catching the enemy off guard. Maris piloted a small fighter alongside Joran. "They didn't expect this," she shouted over the comms. "We're doing it." "Yes," Joran yelled back. "Keep pushing forward, trust your instincts." The enemy, confident in their numbers and firepower, had not considered human unpredictability. Their formations broke apart as they attempted to respond, creating openings that Selara immediately exploited. Her fleet moved with flawless coordination, striking at weak points, disabling weapons, and isolating enemy commanders. Joran led his squadron through the chaos, targeting supply vessels and communication hubs. Each successful strike amplified the confusion among the enemy ranks. Small human teams worked in tandem with Avarian forces, creating a synergy that no one had seen before. Hours passed and the battle intensified. Explosions lit the darkness, and the hum of engines filled the void. The humans were exhausted, but their determination never wavered. They had become more than soldiers. They were innovators, fighters who adapted under pressure and thrived where rules failed. From the flagship, Selara observed every movement, her mind calculating and predicting outcomes. Yet she did not interfere unnecessarily. She allowed the humans to act independently, trusting their judgment. Their success validated her approach. Humans were not merely auxiliaries, they were essential. Joran noticed a cluster of heavily armed enemy ships attempting to cut off the fleet's retreat. It was a trap, likely designed to crush the heart of the Alliance. He relayed the information to Selara. "Good," she replied. "You have seen the threat. Now act. Lead them into the trap we prepared." The humans responded instantly. Using the asteroid field and their smaller, faster ships, they maneuvered to appear vulnerable. The enemy took the bait, chasing them into a carefully constructed corridor of hidden Avarian weapons platforms and decoy ships. Explosions erupted in perfect timing, and the enemy lost dozens of ships in moments. Victory, however, was still uncertain. The enemy commander, a cunning strategist, had one final plan. Massive energy beams charged, threatening to annihilate the fleet. Selara's voice came over the channel. "Brace yourselves. This is the final test. We will not falter." Joran felt the tension rise to a breaking point. "We've come too far to fail now," he whispered. "All of us together, this ends today." With precise coordination, the human and Avarian forces executed a final, daring maneuver. Human teams used diversionary tactics to mislead the enemy, drawing the massive energy beams away from the main fleet. The Avarian ships, guided by Selara, targeted the enemy's command ships, exploiting weaknesses that humans and aliens had discovered together. Joran's squadron darted through explosions and debris, striking critical targets. Maris fired the final shot that disabled an enemy flagship's energy core, causing a chain reaction that rippled through the enemy fleet. Ships exploded in dramatic bursts, lighting the void with fire and brilliance. As the dust settled, the enemy fleet lay broken, scattered and retreating. The human and Avarian forces had survived, not just by strength or firepower, but by intelligence, trust, and ingenuity. Selara addressed the fleet one final time. "Today, you have proven that courage, creativity, and trust can overcome even the greatest odds. Humans, your species has shown brilliance beyond expectation. You are not merely allies, you are partners in shaping the future of this galaxy. Remember this lesson. Together, we are unstoppable." Joran exhaled, leaning back in his chair. Relief, pride, and exhilaration swept through him. Maris joined him, her eyes wide with awe. "We actually did it," she said softly. "We won and we survived everything." "Yes," Joran agreed, "but more than that, we thrived. Because she trusted us. Because we trusted each other." The celebration in the fleet was quiet but profound. Every human crew member understood that they had faced impossible odds, adapted, and prevailed. They had learned that survival alone was not enough. Courage, creativity, and collaboration were what made them truly powerful. Selara observed the humans from the bridge of her flagship, her eyes reflecting satisfaction. She had tested them, challenged them, and now witnessed the results. They had exceeded her expectations. The once skeptical alien generals now looked at the humans with respect and admiration. Even the youngest officers realized that the war had revealed something greater than strategy or firepower. It had revealed the strength of trust, ingenuity, and spirit. Joran walked along the observation deck, staring at the stars that stretched endlessly before them. He thought of everything they had overcome, the battles, the betrayals, the fear, and the uncertainty. Humanity had been tested and had emerged stronger than ever. And at the center of it all was Princess Selara, whose brilliance had guided them, challenged them, and inspired them to rise beyond what they thought possible. Maris joined him, her hand brushing lightly against his. "Do you think it's really over?" she asked. Joran shook his head slowly. "The galaxy is never truly safe, but we've learned something important. We can face whatever comes together. With her and with each other we can survive and even thrive against anything." The fleet moved forward, leaving the remnants of the enemy behind. Stars shimmered like scattered jewels, a silent witness to the courage, ingenuity, and unity that had won the day. Humanity had proven itself not as pawns, but as innovators and warriors, capable of shaping the fate of worlds. Selara's presence remained a constant, a reminder of intelligence, trust, and vision. The humans had learned that true strength lay not only in weapons or numbers, but in courage, adaptability, and partnership. And as the fleet sailed deeper into the unknown, the stars seemed to shine brighter, reflecting the spirit of humans and Avarians alike. A spirit that could face any challenge, conquer any obstacle, and rise above fear to achieve greatness. In the quiet after the battle, Captain Joran felt a sense of peace. They had survived betrayal, outmaneuvered the enemy, and emerged victorious. But more importantly, they had proven themselves. Humanity had found a place among the stars, guided by a princess who had seen their potential and helped them realize it. The galaxy was vast and full of unknown dangers, but for the first time, humans were not afraid. They were ready to meet the future with courage, creativity, and the knowledge that together, they could accomplish the impossible. And somewhere among the stars, Princess Selara watched, knowing that she had found allies unlike any other, humans who could think, adapt, and fight with brilliance equal to her own. Together, they were unstoppable. The battle was won. The alliance was stronger than ever. And humanity, once underestimated, had risen to claim its place among the stars. The alien princess took command in war. Even the generals were afraid.